Ahead of the 2023 World Cup, we at Sports had done a show, one of our editions of the Live Dugout, wherein we picked our top four. And whilst there can often be disagreement over such things, all the panelists on that particular show were, let's say, in agreement, in unison, as to what they felt would be the top four, and it would consist of these four teams. You would see India, you'd see Australia, you would see England, and you would also see New Zealand, as most others had picked as far as being in that top four. However, now with a third of the group stage matches done, because every team now has played 3 out of their designated 9 matches, the table does look a little bit different, and you can really argue that aside from India, no one else has done much of a job when it comes to, let's say, being runaway favorites as of now. All of the other 3 teams, and of course I would say even New Zealand to that extent, but Australia and England really have found the going tough, especially England, because and actually both of them, because both lost they lost 2 out of their first 3 games, and right now face pretty much a must-win situation in every match. So we thought what we'll do in this video is first we'll check out where it is they stand in the table, and then look at what their remaining fixtures are and try and make a little bit of a prediction to see which teams may find it tougher and which teams less so. First, let's look at what it is the points table look like, and it is fair to say that India and New Zealand are the teams who have arguably the least worries. Both of them have won the first 3 games that they've played. They sit at 6 points with their net run rate not that much different. India ahead to just slightly superior net run rate. England currently sit 5th, but they're 5th only due to a better net run rate than Australia's, who, despite actually finally getting off the mark with a win against Sri Lanka, are currently only in 8th position. Australia in 8th position, I hear you ask. When is it that you have seen such a thing happen? Yet that is exactly what's happened right now, and it does leave both of these teams, let's say both Australia and England, with a little bit of a conundrum when it comes to, let's say, how it is that they're going to have to get results in their remaining games, because again, overall you're playing 9 fixtures, because you're playing you're playing all of the teams. There's no group stage per se. It's round robin for every single one, so everyone faces the other. 6 matches are what remain right now, and let's look at the 4 teams that we had predicted and see who exactly it is right now stands the toughest chance, you could argue, of making it out. And we'll start with, of course, the Indians, because again, they're the one team that would be our focus more than anyone else. And if you look at the fixtures, the first 3 fixtures obviously are done and dusted. They beat Australia, they beat Afghanistan, and most importantly, they beat Pakistan. Now, of the remaining 6, you've got Bangladesh coming up, New Zealand and England, and thereafter you've got Sri Lanka, South Africa and Netherlands. So really, out of these, the fixtures you would expect would challenge India the most would be New Zealand, England, South Africa, probably being the 3 most tough fixtures that they have right now. Bangladesh, generally speaking, tend to be that team that wilt against India when it comes to World Cups. Sri Lanka, you can argue the same, that India have had the wood over them for so long, and this Sri Lanka is looking very, very beleaguered. And Netherlands, despite the fact that they rather impressively beat South Africa, let's not kid ourselves and believe that they're suddenly going to be making a surge towards the semi-final. So when you're looking at it from India's perspective, really the only 3 major fixtures that they have left would be New Zealand, England and South Africa, or what we've called the SEN countries minus Australia, would be tough fixtures. So they have 3 fixtures that should be winnable, and of these 3, if they win even 1 or 2, then they're good to go. So India actually have done their impressive hard work, because they beat Australia very convincingly and got past Pakistan pretty convincingly as well. So 2 of their banana peel fixtures, let's say, they went through with flying colors. Now it's just about 3 more potentially being the determinant as far as that, but they're not the main really focus right now. This video we're talking about what the other teams will be doing. So with, as far as New Zealand are concerned, New Zealand, you'll have to admit, have been a little bit, let's say, fortunate with the kind of draw that they've got. Yes, they did very, very well to beat England in that opening group stage game, but if you look at it thereafter, they do have, let's say, early on, their first 5 fixtures, they actually only have 2 very tough ones. They beat Netherlands and Bangladesh also, and Afghanistan, well, that is a match that's currently ongoing as of this recording. We'll see how it is they fare. But otherwise, their tougher fixtures come later on, and that's really where they potentially get unstuck. Because if you look at the last 6 fixtures that they have, you can say Afghanistan are one of the quote-unquote relatively easy ones, as well as Sri Lanka. But otherwise, they've got a match against India, they have a match against Australia, then South Africa and Pakistan. So matches 5 to 8 really are the most tricky for New Zealand, and how it is that they fare in these matches will probably determine how it is that they let's say rank or finish where the top 4 is concerned. So for them, these 4 matches, out of the 6 matches, potentially 4 are very, very tricky, which you remember is more than India's. India had 3 tricky fixtures, New Zealand have 4 tricky fixtures, and that's where things get really complicated for them. A similar story can be said about England, because despite the fact that England have lost 2 games, you could argue that one of those games they were not really expected to lose, and that was against Afghanistan. Because if you're looking at the fixtures that are there, their first 3 fixtures, yes, New Zealand they lost to, but that was always going to be a 50-50 game. Comfortably got past Bangladesh, that was also always going to be a game that they were expected to win. But Afghanistan was the real slip up that nobody saw coming, and that puts them in a bit of a tricky situation when you look at their remaining fixtures. They've got South Africa coming next in Mumbai, and that is expected to be a high scoring fixture, which will always be just a little bit of a lottery. Thereafter, Sri Lanka, then they have India and Australia, and both of those are going to be tough fixtures, and they end with a fixture against Pakistan. So really, of their 6, the only ones that are the easy fixtures, quote unquote, are Sri Lanka and Netherlands. 4 of those remaining fixtures are matches where they will actually need to be at their competitive best, something they haven't really been at consistently so far in the World Cup. So in a sense, I would say that England and New Zealand are in similar boats, whereby their tougher fixtures come later in the tournament, and therefore that can potentially cost them some problems. But what about Australia? Remember, theirs is a little bit on the other side, because they started their campaign with 2 very tough fixtures. India were always going to be a tricky fixture, especially so that India were playing at home. Then, of course, there was South Africa, where they also ended up losing pretty comprehensively. Finally got that duck off by beating Sri Lanka. But if you look at the rest of their fixtures, now they actually have potentially some, let's say, slightly easier fixtures. But look at how it is divided. They're in a similar position to India right now, because whilst Pakistan can be a bit of a banana peel fixture, thereafter they've got Netherlands, and after that New Zealand and England, but they end with games against Afghanistan and Bangladesh. So if they are in a situation whereby they have to win their last 2 games by certain margins, Afghanistan and Bangladesh are 2 matches where they should have no problems, especially when you look at the venues. Afghanistan, they're going to be playing in Mumbai more often than not, very bad a friendly surface. Bangladesh, they're going to be playing in Pune, again more often than not, a very batter friendly surface. The tricky fixtures for them will be Pakistan, New Zealand and England. All 3 of those will be the biggest test for them, but otherwise they've got the Netherlands, they've got Afghanistan and Bangladesh in their remaining 6 fixtures. So that does make things a little bit easier for them. To sum things up, I think the best as far as the fixture run is concerned, the 2 teams that have the biggest advantage are Australia and India. However, if you are a New Zealand or England fan, it is definitely a little bit of a worrisome run-in that you have, but you don't necessarily win the World Cup by shirking your best games. You have to do it by winning the tough matches, and that is what both New Zealand and England will be backing themselves to do, especially if they are to actually fulfill this prediction of ours and let it be done that you see these 4 teams who do appear the strongest and most well-rounded 4 teams on paper be the ones that make it all the way to the semi-final. So as I said, for my money, I think India and Australia do have an easier run in. These 2, it's going to be a little touch and go, especially when you consider the fact that Pakistan and South Africa will be keen to play party pooper. So that's what we feel. What do you guys think? Who do you think would be the favorites among these teams to be making it to the top 4 aside from India? You guys can let us know that in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video, share with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the AajTak app, and if you're already on the channel, go right ahead and check out some other videos we've done, and stay tuned, plenty more coming your way through the day. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.